Have you ever looked at your marriage and thought, my life is so tight. My husband is not rich. Maybe I chose wrong. Maybe leaving him is the only way to change my fate. Have you ever envied other women who seem to have everything, while you look at your ordinary, flawed, not very successful husband and secretly wonder, am I wasting my best years on the wrong person? Welcome back to the channel, my friend. I am glad you are here, especially if you are watching this with a tired heart, a confused heart, or even an angry heart. Today we are going to talk about something that touches directly on destiny, karma, awakening, and the quiet power of one choice in marriage. The original text behind this video uses the idea of 3 zodiac signs to talk about 3 kinds of husbands men who, even if they are not rich right now, carry qualities that can bring a woman lifelong peace, stability, and deep blessings if she knows how to see them. Whether you personally believe in astrology or not does not matter. What matters is that behind those signs are 3 very real types of character. In other words, we are not really here to talk about animals on a zodiac wheel. We are here to talk about 3 kinds of men: the man who is steady, responsible, and honest, even if he is not flashy. The man who is willing to endure hardship, keep learning, and grow, even if he starts from a low point. The man who is soft-hearted, family-oriented, and deeply loyal, even if he is not good with sweet talk or romance. You might recognize your own husband in one of these, or you might see a mix. The main point is this: from the spiritual point of view, who you marry is one of the biggest karmic decisions of your life. It is not just about romance. It is about the energy you will live in every day, the karma you will plant together, and the atmosphere you will raise your children in. So in this long script, let us walk through 3 stories, each built around one of these husband types. We will see how a poor beginning can slowly transform into a rich middle and peaceful old age, if both partners understand what real wealth is and how it grows. We will also be honest and look at the times when women walk away too quickly, chasing surface comfort, then later realize they traded long-term peace for short-term glitter. As always, you do not have to agree with everything. Just listen as if you were listening to an old friend telling life stories, and quietly compare them with your own. Imagine the first couple. Her name is Anna. His name is David. When they met, David had nothing impressive. No car, no house, no powerful family. He rented a small room of thin walls and cheap furniture. But he had one thing that was not obvious at first glance: a steady, deeply responsible heart. He grew up poor. As the eldest son, he began working small jobs in his teens to help support his parents and siblings. He never had the chance to be a prince. He knew the price of everything in the market, the weight of each coin in his mother's hand. He did not have time to learn fancy romantic lines. But if someone in the family was sick, he was the one who ran to the clinic. If there was a leak in the roof, he was the one who climbed up, even in the rain. When he and Anna married, people gossiped. They said, "She is silly. Look at her friends marrying men who already have cars and apartments. Her husband cannot even afford a proper wedding. She will suffer." Even some of her relatives were not kind. At family gatherings, they would casually drop comments like, "So, when will you move into your own place? Oh, you are still renting. You must be having a hard time." In the early years, yes, it was hard. There were months when money was painfully tight. Arguments broke out over small expenses. The baby cried at night. The landlord raised the rent. The in-laws complained. The world felt heavy, but every time pressure came, David responded in a certain way. He did not run away. He did not disappear into drinking or gambling. He did not blame his wife, saying, "You should have married better." He simply gritted his teeth, took on extra work, woke earlier, came home later, and quietly put his pay into her hand. There was one winter that Anna remembered for the rest of her life. Their child was sick with a high fever. They had little saving. The clinic's fees felt like a mountain. She sat on the edge of the bed, crying silently, saying, "Maybe I should have chosen differently. Maybe if I had married someone richer, this would not be so painful." She did not know that outside, in the cold wind, David was delivering packages on an old bike until midnight. Because he had secretly taken a temporary job to pay for medicine. His hands were numb, his face stiff, but in his heart there was only one thought: my wife and child cannot suffer because of me. I will carry it. He came home with red eyes, not from crying but from the cold and exhaustion, and put the crumpled money on the table. "Tomorrow we will take the baby to a better doctor," he said simply. No drama, no big speech, just action. In that moment, something in Anna's heart woke up. She saw clearly that she had not married a prince. She had married a man willing to stand in front of the wind. Years passed, slowly. Life stabilized. David's honest, consistent work built trust with his employers. He was not the fastest, not the smartest, but he was the one everyone knew would not cheat, would not disappear, would not leave a mess for others. That kind of reliability is a form of spiritual capital. It may not bring fast money, but it attracts long-term opportunities. He was offered a more stable position with benefits. They moved from a tiny rental to a modest apartment. It was not luxury, but it was warm. Their child grew up in a home where dad may not have had fashionable clothes, but his promises were always kept. When relatives came over years later, surprised at how much their life had improved, they said things like, "You were lucky. Your husband actually turned out to be capable." Anna would smile in a way that mixed humor and a bit of sadness. She knew it was not luck. It was years of quiet responsibility, of a man who carried his burdens without making a show. Now imagine an alternative story. Suppose in that cold winter, when money was tight and the baby was sick, Anna had listened to gossiping voices instead of her own deeper knowing. Suppose she had said, "I am done. You are poor. You cannot give me the life I want. I am leaving." She might have found a man with more material security. Yes, but what would she have lost? The man who would stand in front of the storm with her. The man whose loyalty was proved in hardship, not bought with gifts. From a karmic perspective, the first kind of husband is one whose core energy is stability. He may move slowly, but each step is honest. If a woman has the eyes to see this, and the patience to grow together, their shared destiny can become very solid. Wealth may not come fast, but what they build will be difficult to shake. This is the first type of husband. Many old teachings describe the steady, honest, responsible one. If you leave such a man only because he is not rich yet, you are not just leaving a person. You may be walking away from a lifetime of peace that is still ripening. Now let us move to the second story. The second type. Here we meet Lisa and her husband, Mark. When they married, Mark was what some people would call a loser. Not because he was bad, but because he seemed to fail at everything. He had tried several businesses. All collapsed. He had changed jobs more than once. His parents were tired of supporting him. Relatives sighed. He is unreliable. Even Lisa's friends asked her, "Why would you marry someone like that? You are just signing up for suffering." But Lisa saw something important that others missed. In every failure, Mark took responsibility. When a project failed, he did not blame the economy, the clients, or the government. He said, "I made these mistakes. I was naive here, careless there. I will learn and not repeat them." He read books late at night, not about getting rich quickly, but about how to manage money, handle people, and build discipline. He also had a rare humility. When he did not understand something, he asked. When he met someone better than him, he admired instead of envying. When he failed, he got up again and again. In the first years of their marriage, they were poor, sometimes even poorer than before she married. There were days when her colleagues bought coffee and lunch easily. While she calculated every coin, she would smile on the outside and dig on the inside. One afternoon, after hearing a friend brag about her husband's big bonus and new car, she went home, sat on the balcony, and felt a wave of regret. Did I marry the wrong man? She wondered. What if he never succeeds? What if we are always like this? That evening, she watched something that changed her question. It was past midnight. She woke up thirsty and went to the kitchen. She saw the light still on in the living room. There was Mark, sitting at the table, deeply focused on a thick book about small business management. His eyes were tired, but there was a kind of determination in them she had not noticed before. She leaned against the door and watched him silently. He did not notice her. He was too absorbed in solving a problem on the page, taking notes, scratching his head, thinking. In that moment, she realized something. I may not have married a successful man yet, but I have married a man who is willing to grow. And growth, in karmic language, is one of the most powerful energies a person can have. From then on, she made a decision inside herself. If he does not give up on himself, I will not give up on him either. We will learn together. She did not pretend life was easy, but she shifted from passive complaint to active partnership. When a new small opportunity appeared, instead of saying, "It will probably fail anyway," she said, "Let us plan more carefully this time. Where did things go wrong before? How can we avoid those mistakes?" She learned basic finance so she could help track money. She gave honest feedback when his ideas were unrealistic. She also gave encouragement when he wanted to quit out of shame. Over years, this combination of his willingness to grow and her steady support slowly changed their fate. He finally found an area where his strengths matched the market, a small but solid service business. At first, income was still low, but he used everything he had learned from past failures. He treated every client with care. He built a reputation for fixing problems quickly. Word spread. After 10 years, if you looked only at the surface, you might say, "They are lucky. They used to be poor. Now they have a stable business, a small home, some savings." But they would know that luck was built from countless nights of effort. For both of them. Imagine alternative paths again. Suppose Lisa had left him in those early years, saying, "I do not want to be with a man who fails so much." She might have married someone whose success was already visible but whose heart was static or lazy. On the surface, she might have had more comfort sooner, but she would have missed the deep satisfaction of growing through hardship with someone who constantly becomes better. From a spiritual point of view, this second type of husband is not yet stable in the material world, but he has inner qualities that make future success possible: humility, responsibility, willingness to learn, and courage to keep trying. If a woman walks away from such a man just because the money has not arrived yet, she is leaving right before the harvest. Now let us meet the third couple. Her name is Grace. Her husband is Ton. On the day of their wedding, people said, "He is not very ambitious. He had a regular job that paid enough to live but not enough to impress. He was not the life of the party. He did not have bold plans to conquer the world, but he had a gentle, loyal heart and a deep commitment to family. From the beginning, he put his emotional energy into building a calm home. He would leave work on time to eat dinner with his wife and later with their children. He remembered anniversaries not with expensive gifts, but with thoughtful gestures. When conflicts happen, he was the first to say, "Let us sit down and talk," instead of storming out. In his parents' home, his father had been often absent and his mother often anxious. He had promised himself as a child, "If I ever have a family, I will not repeat this. I will be present. I will be stable. I will not build glory outside while my home is burning inside." However, in a world that worships status symbols, such a man is not always appreciated. As the years went by, Grace saw her friends posting photos of luxury vacations, designer bags, and upgraded homes. Some of their husbands worked in big firms. Some were business owners. They often went out on weekends without the kids, dressed elegantly, smiling for the camera. Meanwhile, her own life felt plain. Weekdays were work, homework, dinner, bedtime stories. Weekends were grocery shopping, cleaning, visiting parents. Sometimes she felt bored. She wondered if she had chosen a man who was too small. Then came a series of events that forced her to see her marriage in a different light. First, a friend called her crying. Her husband, a charismatic businessman who often traveled and brought home expensive gifts, had been discovered having an affair. The family exploded. The children were confused and hurt. Her friend said, between sobs, "I thought his ability to make money meant security. But now I realize, if his heart is not at home, nothing is secure." Soon after, another friend confessed how lonely she felt. Her husband was a high-position manager. They had a big house, but he was rarely home. When he was, his phone never stopped. He was impatient with the children and often snapped at her. She said, "Sometimes I would rather live in a smaller place with less money if it meant having a peaceful meal together." These conversations planted questions in Grace's mind. Then one evening, she came home later than usual, exhausted from work. The house was warm. The smell of food drifted from the kitchen. She saw her husband wearing an apron, helping their child with homework at the table. The homework was messy. The child was frustrated. Patiently, he explained the same concept 3 times, changing his approach each time, never raising his voice. He noticed her in the doorway and said, "You are back. Go wash your hands. Dinner is almost ready." In that everyday scene, tears came into her eyes unexpectedly. For the first time, she saw very clearly the spiritual wealth she actually had: a husband whose first instinct was to be home, to cook, to teach. In that moment, she thought of all those social media pictures and realized something: many of those pictures hid a lot of unseen pain. Her own life, though ordinary, was rich in something that cannot be bought: daily peace. From then on, whenever discontent rose in her from comparisons, she reminded herself, "My husband may not make a big wave in the world, but he creates a safe harbor at home." This is not small. This is huge. In terms of karma and destiny, this third type of husband is a man whose priority is family harmony. He may not have big external ambition, but if his heart is kind, loyal, and willing to serve his loved ones, he brings a woman a kind of inner security that status alone cannot give. If a woman leaves such a man only because he is not glamorous enough, she may later find that she has to buy peace with a very high price. Now, let us put these 3 types together and look at the deeper teaching behind them. From a spiritual view, your husband is not just an individual. He is a karmic partner. Living with him day in and day out is part of your practice path. His strengths and weaknesses interact with your strengths and weaknesses. Together you create the family's atmosphere, the children's emotional world, and your shared future. This is why the old saying goes, your choice of partner decides much of your later life's peace and true wealth. Notice true wealth here does not mean only money. It means a combination of factors: physical stability, food, shelter, health, emotional safety, not living in fear of violence, betrayal, or abandonment. Spiritual growth, having space to practice patience, compassion, honesty, and gratitude. Karmic improvement, planting good seeds together, not constantly generating harm. A husband who is honest, responsible, and stable may not be rich now, but he can help build all of these over time. A husband who is willing to grow and learn can transform poverty into richness. A husband who prioritizes family can fill a home with warmth, even if furniture is simple. Of course, none of this means that every poor husband is secretly a hidden treasure. Some men are poor because they are lazy, addicted, or abusive. That is a different story. Spiritual wisdom never asks you to stay in a home filled with violence, addiction without change, or serious harm. Protecting your life and your children's well-being is also part of your karmic duty. But if your husband is among those three types we talked about, even if he is not outwardly impressive, walking away just because of temporary poverty can be a serious mistake. The problem in many modern marriages is not that men are all bad or women are all greedy. The problem is that both sides often misunderstand what real wealth is and how it is built. Real wealth takes time. It grows slowly from honest effort, wise decisions, and shared practice. It does not appear instantly like in dramas. It often looks like two people learning to communicate better instead of shouting and slamming doors. One person listening even when tired, because they know the other needs to speak. Partners discussing money openly, planning together, facing debts with courage. Spouses supporting each other's growth instead of cutting each other down. Both sides being willing to apologize and forgive when they make mistakes. This kind of wealth cannot be measured only in numbers, but its karmic effect is huge. Children raised in such a home carry a different energy into the world. Old age in such a marriage feels different. It is not just two strangers sharing a roof, but to practice companions walking side by side. Now, let us address a painful reality. There are women watching this who stayed in difficult marriages for years, thinking they were doing the right thing. But their husbands never grew, never took responsibility, never stopped harming. To you, I want to say gently, this video is not here to judge your choices. Sometimes, leaving is the most courageous, wise act. Sometimes, walking away is the only way to stop the karma of harm from repeating. At the same time, there are women who left good men too quickly, driven by comparison, impatience, or external pressure, and later realized they walked away from deep blessings. To you, I also want to say gently, do not drown in regret. Use what you have learned to choose differently next time, or to teach your children about character. For those who are still in a marriage with one of these three types of husbands, but feel unhappy because of financial stress or boredom, I want to offer a few reflections. First, examine with honesty, is he fundamentally kind, responsible, and willing to improve, even if he is clumsy at it? If yes, then perhaps the work now is not to change husbands, but to change both of your ways of thinking about money, growth, and connection. Second, look at your own heart. Are you feeding dissatisfaction every day by constantly comparing your life to others? Do you spend more time imagining how life would be with a richer man than appreciating the small, real efforts your husband makes? Comparison is a powerful poison. It can turn a basically good marriage into a source of constant pain. Third, ask yourself, what kind of old age do I really want? A fancy house where I eat alone, or a modest home where someone who walked through storms with me is still there, sharing soup and memories? This is not romantic fantasy. It is a serious question about destiny. From the angle of awakening and practice, marriage is not primarily here to fulfill fantasies. It is here to refine you, to soften your ego, to deepen your compassion, to teach you patience, to expose your own selfishness and fear. A good husband, in this sense, is not the one who gives you everything you want. It is the one who, by being himself, gives you the chance to become a wiser, kinder, more awake version of yourself. So what can you do? In practical terms, if you recognize your husband in these stories and want to support a better shared future instead of threatening divorce every time things get hard, you can start by appreciating out loud what he is already doing right. Not in a manipulative way, but sincerely. Men who work hard and stay loyal often feel invisible. Society praises big winners and glamorous playboys, but rarely celebrates the man who comes home every night, fixes small things quietly, and holds his children when they cry. Your recognition can strengthen his resolve more than you realize. You can also invite him into shared learning instead of just complaining. For example, you can say, "We are under pressure with money. I am scared too. But I believe we can learn together how to budget better. Maybe how to develop a small side skill. Are you willing to explore this with me?" This is different from, "You are useless. You never earn enough." One opens a door, the other slams it. You can work on your own inner life. When your soul is empty, you will try to fill it with external things, more stuff, more status, more entertainment. But no husband, no matter how rich, can fill that emptiness. That is work only your own spiritual practice can do. Meditation, reflection, understanding cause and effect, cultivating gratitude, letting go of illusion. The more you do that work, the less you will demand from your husband what he cannot give, and the more you will value what he actually brings. And you can have honest conversations about values. Ask each other what matters most to us. What do we want to pass on to our children? How do we define a good life when we are old? If your answers include peace of mind, health, family closeness, and freedom from heavy debts, then you are already richer than many people who chase only numbers. Before we close, I want to share something tender and real. Many women were taught from childhood to dream of being rescued by a powerful man. Many men were taught to believe their worth is only their paycheck. Both ideas are painful illusion. In real life, you are not a princess in a tower, and he is not a magical provider without fears and wounds. You are two human beings, each carrying karma from the past, meeting in this lifetime to practice together. Sometimes that practice is sweet. Sometimes it is bitter. Sometimes you hold each other up. Sometimes you push each other's button. That is normal. The question is not, is my husband perfect? The question is my husband fundamentally decent? Willing to work, willing to grow, and am I willing to do the same? If the answer is yes, then even if you are poor right now, you may be sitting on the most precious treasure of your life and not recognizing it. Your one choice to stay, to support, to grow together, could be the door through which peace, stability, and deep, quiet wealth enter in the second half of your life. If you feel comfortable, share in the comments which type your husband or partner is closest to. Is he the steady, responsible one, the growth-oriented but often failing one, or the gentle, family-centered one, or a mix? Have there been moments when you almost left, and something made you stay? What did you learn from that? Your story might be exactly what another woman needs to hear tonight, as she sits in a small rented room, looking at her ordinary husband, wondering if she should cut the rope or tie it tighter. If this long script resonated with you, if it brought clarity, comfort, or even a little bit of courage to see your marriage with new eyes, please remember to subscribe to the channel, tap the like button, and leave a comment. That is how this platform knows to share these deeper conversations about awakening, wisdom, cause and effect, compassion, practice, and destiny with more people who need them. If you feel called to support this space in a deeper way, you can also consider joining as a member. That support helps me keep turning short texts like the one behind this video into long, thoughtful scripts that you can walk with over time, like a friend's voice accompanying you through long nights. Thank you for staying all the way to the end. May you have the wisdom to recognize real wealth when it stands right in front of you. May you and your partner, if he is a good man at the core, grow from poverty of circumstance to richness of heart and life. And may your choice today plant the seeds of a second half of life filled not only with comfort, but with deep peace, mutual respect, and a sense that your destiny, though not perfect, was truly lived well together.
There comes a time when you realize you want something that belongs just to you, something that brings comfort and keeps you connected to your inner world. Wall-crafted bracelet does exactly that. Quietly, softly, and consistently. If you felt drawn to any bracelet in this video, You'll find the purchase link in the video description and many more auctions in the channel storefront. Because sometimes the smallest item can bring the biggest sense of peace.